Well, hello friend! Welcome to Cam Answers. My name is Ron from cammastery.com, where you can go to learn how to make great videos with Camtasia. It's Sunday, so I like to do a video answering some questions for you all. So today I have lots of questions I want to get through, so let's look at some of these. The first thing I want to get through, well, let's talk about all 7 of these that I want to go through. I'll try and make these quick. Extending a frame, pausing recording, importing phone audio, fit to visible, webcam quality, discount on Camtasia, and PragerU-style videos. So, lots to get through. Let's start off with that first question, and we're going to see that it says that they bought the course a while ago, and if you're not sure what that course is, hey, I'm glad you asked. It's Cam Mastery, and I have the 2020 version for you. You can find that at cammastery.com/store. But back to the question. Hey, I bought your course a while ago, going through, and one of the things you talk about is, excuse me, using Shift E whenever extending a frame. And it's not working for me. Okay, no problem. Yep, I get that. So the problem here is that in an earlier version of Camtasia, Shift E would extend a frame. What do we mean by extend a frame? Let's head over to Camtasia and take a look. So if I'm here and there's this frame that I want to continue. So you can see there's just this video where I'm talking and I find some frame, maybe this one where I'm kind of pointing at the camera, I don't know. And I want to extend this. What I said in the past is you could go up to Edit and extend a frame. And the person's looking and saying, I don't see extend a frame here. I said, or you can use Shift E. So I'm going to do Shift E. And in this case, it's saying, yes, you can add the duration of 1 second. And so it let me do that. Now, if I zip down here, I see this one frame is static for 1 second. But my recommendation to this person is, instead of doing that, what we can do is use a tool that's available in Camtasia for Mac and Camtasia for PC, and it doesn't require the Shift E keystroke. And that is what we're going to do is we're going to make a split. We're going to slide away the file that we don't need, or the extra clip, and then we're going to extend that frame by holding down either the Alt or the Option key, depending on if we're on PC or Mac. So let's look at that. So back over to Camtasia. I'm here, and what I said I would do first is do a split. So for Windows, that is the S key. For Mac, it is Command T. I created that split, and now I'm just going to zoom down here so we can see this nice and easy. So now I have these 2 clips, one on the left, one on the right. And I'm going to drag this one off to the right. And what I want to do is extend this last clip, this last frame. So notice when I have my mouse here at the end, I have this double-headed arrow. When I hold down the Alt key and then move my mouse here, notice that it changes. And it's saying, oh, you're going to take this one frame and you're going to stretch it out. So I'm going to click and drag my mouse to the right. And as I do that, it's just that one frame. All right, and then I let go of the Alt key, and now I'll zoom back out. And we can see here is that one frame frozen for several seconds. Looks like it's frozen for about 5, almost 6 seconds. Okay, so this is the way that I would go ahead and make splits and extend frames. So if there's any time where you need to freeze time or freeze a frame, make a split right there, hold down the Alt or the Option key, drag it out for as long as you need, and then you can resume the rest of your video. So that is question number 1. Question number 2, is it possible to pause the screen recording? Like maybe you have a longer recording, you want to pause, you need to take a break for something like that. You need to clear your throat. Who knows? You need to grab a snack, grab a glass of water. What can you do? Absolutely, you can do this. So again, we'll go back over to Camtasia. And in this case, I'm going to grab the recorder and I'm going to move this recorder over. You know what? Let's do this. Let's make this easier to see. So I'm going to grab the recorder, try that again. There's the recorder. Let's jump down there and take a look at the recorder itself. And what I want to do is start with the tools. So if I go to Tools and Options, then what I see here is a place for shortcuts. And when I go to Shortcuts, there is a place to both record and pause. Now, the recommendation that I have for you is to use the default key is F9. My mentor, Lon Naylor, recommends using the F2 key instead, so we can change this. Now, Lon Naylor, who is that? Lon Naylor, you don't know Lon Naylor? You should know Lon Naylor. Lon Naylor, I'm going to have his link in the description. He has a couple of great sites. The first site is screencapturevideo, I think, .com. Let's go there real quick. Screencapturevideo.com. Here's Lon's site. Right, screencapturevideo.com. This is where I went to learn about Lon. He also has a YouTube channel. That YouTube channel is youtube.com/user/logicaldrive. So check out Lon. He is awesome. He's a good friend. He really knows his Camtasia stuff. And so we're bouncing ideas off of each other all the time. Back to Camtasia. What I want to do is, I said that Lon recommends making this at the F2 key. Now, why would we not leave it at F9? Well, a couple of reasons for that. Let's look at the stop key. The stop hotkey is F10. Okay, and to pause it, F9. Right beside each other. And so Lon has this great idea that he's like, why do we have these right next to each other? Instead, why don't we take the pause key and move it to the other side of the keyboard? And if you're a right-handed mouse user, then you can use your mouse with your right hand. You can press the F2 key with your left hand. And so then you can pause, do whatever you need to, then unpause, come back, and get right back into the swing of things. So to review, what we did was we said, let's go to Tools, Options in the recorder. We went to the Shortcuts tab. We would go to Record Pause, and we would change this to the F2 key. And then we would click OK. And now it's set to F2. So yes, you can pause. That's one way to do it. Another way to do it is directly within Camtasia Recorder. If I click Record, and it gives it a second, is it going to do the countdown? It is. I usually turn that off. I'll show you how I do that too. So now it's recording. I'm going to bring the recorder back up. You can see there's a pause key right here too. And I could just pause. It's 5 seconds into recording. I say, nope, let's not do that anymore. All right, now let's pick it back up where we left off. Click resume, and now it's recording again. So I'm going to go ahead and press F10 on my keyboard now. It should stop. There it is. It has stopped. I don't actually need to save this. I'm just going to say cancel because I don't need that recording. You sure you want to delete it? Yep. I don't need that recording. And instead, what I want to do is show you back in Tools, Options. If we don't want that countdown, and I don't know why you would want that countdown, we're going to uncheck that box. Show countdown before recording. Uncheck that. Click OK. That's one of the things I do. I just updated Camtasia, so that's probably why that item is still on my recorder. It's my guess anyway. All right, that was pausing during recording. The next question, Ron, I'm making a Camtasia video of PowerPoint presentation, following your guide, audio file on the computer. Now, how do I get the audio file into my video recording? Okay, so this gentleman is looking at recording directly into his phone. And what I do, I think maybe I put my phone away. I put my cell phone, I use a lapel mic on my cell phone sometimes, record directly to the cell phone. And then his question is about recording, getting that into Camtasia. How do we align those things? So let's go to Camtasia. Let's take a look at synchronizing the audio and video here. So I'm just going to do a few undos, Control Z, Control Z, Control Z. There we go. So here is my video recording, and I'm going to come back up here a little bit. There we go. Zoom out a little bit more just to show you there's my video. And I happen to have the audio for that. So I'm going to grab the audio. He says, how do I get it into Camtasia? How do I get it into my recording? What I would do is I would go to Media, and then I would right-click and import media, or my favorite way to do it is to just, find wherever your file is and just drag it directly into Camtasia. So if this is the thing I wanted, I would just click it and drag it right into Camtasia. I don't need that, but if I did, that's how I prefer to do it. Once it's in Camtasia in the media bin, then just grab it and drag it down to your track. Now that it's down there, we can see that this aligns fairly closely. You can see, yes, that the audio with the camera recording and the pure audio are aligned, or they're at least the same audio. Now I'm going to zoom in a little bit, and what I can do is move this, move these items until they're pretty close to aligned, and then what I would typically do is zoom all the way in and make sure that those are, perfectly aligned. So probably right there is where I would do that. Now, another thing that I do is at the beginning of my recording, if we look, you'll see right here, I do a snap. Why do I do a snap? Well, for this very reason. I want to align, I want to synchronize my audio. So right here, that's where I snap my fingers. And so the snap of the audio is aligned with the snap of the video. And if I zoom back out, you can see that these two files aren't aligned at the beginning. I didn't click record at the exact same frame, right? We would have to start at 1/30th of a second to get them exactly the same. So I just, snap my fingers, then I have it aligned, and these are ready to go. So the next thing I would do is I typically find where I want this video to start, somewhere around here. I would do Control-Shift-S to split all of these tracks, delete these first parts, and then I hold down the Shift key and drag this playhead down to drag everything along with it so that I start right here at the beginning. So that's how I usually start things off after they're aligned. Then what I do is, or also toward the beginning, is I'll grab this audio track that's on the camera recording. Since this is not the high quality audio that I want, I will go to its properties in the upper right. I will go to the audio tab, and I will just grab this gain bar and drag it down to nothing. When I do that, I can see then that the audio peaks and things that were down here are no longer down there. No problem, because I have my good clean audio down here at the bottom. Usually the next thing I do with the audio, actually the next thing is sort of with the audio. I'll go to Project Settings and I'll turn off Auto Normalize Loudness. Now, typically you would probably want to leave that on. I turn it off, and then what I do is go over to Audio Effects, Audio Compression, and I drag it down to my audio track. And notice how it tries to even out all those audio peaks so that they're a little bit more flat. Now, off to the right, I'm going to show you what I do with audio compression. And I'll grab this and I typically change it to low, and then I usually go to custom because low is really close to where I want it to be. I usually make this a -10 based on my, not +10, -10, there we go. Based on my recording. The ratio is at 5 is good, and usually the gain is around 8 or 9. So I'm going to start with 8, see where that is. That looks pretty good. Now I'm looking down at the bottom here, and what I'm looking for is I really want this to be as close to the top as possible. So if I go over to my gain, so let me zoom back out, and I just bump this up from 8 to 9, and now I look down here at the bottom, it looks like I probably have overshot. It looks like those are probably hitting the top of that. And I can make this track larger, and I'm just, just not comfortable getting it that close. So I will probably take this back to 8 just to make sure that I'm in a good place. So that's usually how I get my audio started. I like to make sure that it's good and loud, but not too loud. And I use audio compression to do that instead of the great tool that I really like called Auto Normalize Loudness. Okay, so that is how I integrate my audio into my videos. So then the next question, let's see what that is. That is, Ron, I have your course and you talk about how to do these things with the canvas, but you don't talk about fit to visible. Why not? Do you not use that? Was that a mistake? And the short answer is, yeah, that was actually kind of a mistake. I should have put that in. So let me show you what this person is talking about with fit to visible and how you can use it in your projects. So if I go back to Camtasia, and he said he's thinking specifically, if we look at the top here, I can click the drop down and go to Project Settings. And then in here on the Camtasia Canvas Dimensions, we see at the bottom, or you might not be able to see at the bottom, there is a Fit to Visible option. All right. So if I click Fit to Visible, in this case, it says, oh, okay, now it's fit to visible, which is 1920 by 1080. And you say, well, wasn't it already 1920 by 1080? Yes, it was. So what I could do is, if you look and notice, this is actually a 4K camera video. So what I'm going to do to this 4K camera video is go up to the top here and make this 100%. So now it's truly a 4K. All right, now it's zoomed up to 100%. It's going to have everything. So if I go to the top now, Project Settings, and then I choose the drop down again and say Fit to Visible. Now notice my Camtasia dimensions have changed. It is currently, let's say, what do we have there? 3840 by 2160. So it has changed dimensions based on me making this full scale and going to that recording size. All right, so I'm gonna, well, you know what? I'll leave that applied for now. Let's zoom back out. Let me remove this video. Well, and the audio. We don't need either one of those. So I'll select those and just delete those. And I have another screen recording from my phone. Now my phone doesn't have this these perfect dimensions. So here, when I brought it in, you say, oh wow, that's a whole lot smaller. And the scale's at 86.5%. Well, let's change that to 100%. There we go. And then let's move this and go to project settings and try it again. Let's try fit to visible. And so it does, it fits it perfectly. And that happens to be 2220 by 1080. And I can say apply. And now this is perfectly set to play through this video based on its recording dimensions. So fit to visible is very useful if you're using non-standard resolutions, like you saw in this case where I did 4K, which technically is a standard resolution, or in the most recent case here where I had 2220 by 1080. Not sure where that came from, but I recorded on my smartphone, and so that's what it used. So you can use those again. If it's anything outside of the standard, that's the nice, quick, easy way to get your canvas to the size of your recording. Now, you also want to keep in mind that you want to record and produce your videos in the resolution where you want to, where you're going to host your video. So if I know I want this on YouTube, for example, I probably want to record and edit and produce all in 1920 by 1080. However, if I'm using a smartphone like this, it's not a problem to change the resolution if I need to. Just realize when you upload to something like YouTube, you'll probably see black bars in order to get it to that 16:9 ratio that YouTube uses so often. Okay, so that was the next question. I don't even remember what question that was, maybe 3 or 4. The next one, using my webcam. So he's using his Canon Rebel camera. He's connecting it and he's like, the quality's awful. But when I look at it on Zoom, the quality's fantastic. What's going on? Is there something in Camtasia? Yep, there probably is something in Camtasia. So when we go over to Camtasia, just like we had before, let's bring up that recorder. And I'm going to drop this down here just so it's out of the way. We'll get that out of the way as well. And I'm going to zoom down here for a moment and take a look at the webcam. So I connected an extra webcam. So I'm going to turn this on. Unable to record camera. Well, yeah, because my other item is using that particular camera. I want to use this camera. There we go. So my streaming is using the one camera. Here's the other camera. So hi, I'm looking at you over here instead of the typical camera. So you can see a little bit behind the scenes. And when I do this, you can see probably the quality isn't as good. So let's check out that quality. When we click this, I can go to options here. And here in options, notice it took me to the inputs tab. And then on the right, I have the camera. I can select that camera. That's still the one I want to use. And I have dimensions and frame rate. So if you have low quality, perhaps it's because you have low dimensions. Now, in this case, this is an old webcam, several years old. So its top resolution is 1280 by 1040. Which is an old 4:3 resolution, and its frame rate is currently at 7, and we want to bump it up, but you can see that's not even an option. 7 is the best it can do. So if I drop this down to something like 640 by 480, then I can get up to 30 frames per second. So now when I do this, it's nice and smooth. Great. But if I have the dimensions up too high, then it's a little bit more blocky, right? It's a lot more smeary. It doesn't look as good. So all of this to say, when you are working with your webcam, inside the recorder settings, you can take a look and make adjustments as needed. My guess is that there's a camera setting inside your recorder that is just a lower quality. So it's a lower frame rate or a lower resolution, perhaps both. So just check that out inside your recorder options. And again, you can go to that from Tools, Options, and the Inputs tab. Now over to our next question. Let's make that nice and big. And it says, by any chance, do you know if Camtasia offers discounts on Black Friday or Cyber Monday? And I do happen to know that they don't typically do that. However, I have received an email from TechSmith letting me know that, and others know, that there is going to be a Black Friday and a Cyber Monday sale for TechSmith products. So I can only assume that Camtasia is included in that, as it's one of their top selling products. I'm guessing Snagit will also be on sale as well. But yes, they did in fact inform those of us who are affiliates for TechSmith that a discount will be coming on Black Friday and Cyber Monday. So yes, check it out. And then on to our next question, which is, this might be our last question, the level of Camtasia. So inside my course, I talk about that that Camtasia isn't for Hollywood productions. So that's why he mentions Hollywood productions. He's like, but there's a channel called PragerU, and they have videos which are right up my alley. Is Camtasia capable of creating videos like that? And that answer is yes. The way they do their videos is a couple of things. One, they record somebody in front of a green screen. And two, they animate icons behind someone. Now, it's important to note that Camtasia can move icons around. They can zoom in and out, but they can't animate them. For example, if there's a person, waving their arm or doing something like this as an icon, Camtasia can't do that. It's not possible. Instead, what you can do, like I said, is just move them around, fade them in and out, slide them, and do things like that. So you can still do those types of things. And I have that set up for you inside Camtasia. So let me jump over there. I will delete this phone recording. I will take us back to 1920 by 1080, and it helps if you can look at my screen. There we go. So let's change this back to 1920 by 1080. Where did you go? There you go. We'll say apply. And so I would start off with a green screen. So here's a green screen recording I have. That's when I started. And here's me talking on the green screen. So if you wanted to do this PragerU type of video, I would record myself in front of a green screen. Then I would go over to visual effects, grab the remove a color and drag that over. And you can see it didn't remove anything, but I can use this drop down, and it gave me a window outside where the eyedropper is. So I'm going to use this eyedropper and pick a green somewhere in the middle. And then when I click that, it's able to remove that green. Now, if we zoom in and look, there's a little bit of a green edge around me. You should be able to see that maybe around my collar or around the ears. However, what we can do is we can tweak some of these and bump these items up here on the right. So there are properties for our remove a color. And let me show you the extremes, what happens when you move these too far. So I'll start with softness as an example. Again, let's see if we can do this. Yeah, we can. Let's maybe zoom in even further. Okay, so I'm specifically going to look at the green outline here. Whoop, undo, Control Z. This green outline right around my shoulder. And I'm going to grab softness and drag it to the right. And you notice that the green goes away. You're like, yeah, that's great. And as I continue to grab it, notice it's making everything darker. Okay, so I don't want to go quite that far because this doesn't look good with, skin and things like that. And if I drag it too far to the left, then it actually introduces a little bit of green down here in the lower right. So softness will be one thing I want to use. Let's do tolerance. So we're going to grab tolerance and drag that down. Again, I see that green disappearing, and that's great. And as I continue to go, it's pulling out blue, it's pulling out gray, it's pulling out part of my face. And that's really kind of disturbing. So if we wanted to look at my face, we're around Halloween time, so that's probably, I don't know, it kind of looks like a Wolfman mask or something. I don't know. But that's not exactly what we want. So again, these controls, use them lightly, right? Use them as limited as you can. So tolerance, I would probably try, in the 10 to 12 area. Softness, probably around 10 to 12 area again. I would go up to 15 if needed. You hopefully don't have to go beyond 15. Those are good ways to do that. There is also this defringe option that I can use. Notice as I drag it to the right, it removes all that color. Drag it to the left, it does it as well. Dragging to the left gets things darker. Dragging to the right gets things lighter. So it depends on what background you're using. So if you need to defringe, again, use it very little, because you can see just even a little bit, it's pulling that color out of my shirt when I do that. So I don't want to defringe too far. Okay, so 10% might work. I would play around with that. So that's the first part. Now I have myself talking, and the next thing I would do is I would add something like a lower third. So I would, if my video starts here, I could delete this, Control X, and, start talking. Hi, here's me, and then introduce my lower third. Undo. I dragged it onto that track. I wanted to drag it just above the track. There we go. And so I can have that there. If my lower third is coming in over here, chances are I want to have myself over here. So that could be one thing that you want to do. And that's the nice thing about this green screening is when you pull the background out, you can move yourself around and there's no border. You can't see where it ends above me or to the left or to the right of me. You can move me around. You can center me here in the window. You probably want to add a background. I don't know what kind of background you want to add. I think PragerU just adds a solid background. It might have some kind of gradient to it. I'm not sure. But what we'll do is we'll add just a different color. So I went to project settings, and let's find that's kind of a brighter blue than I want. There we go. Maybe something. Oh, I'm wearing a blue shirt, so let's not do blue on blue. Let's do brown. Looks kind of ugly. We can go with brown. But anyway, you get the idea. So you could create this. You could add that as your background, and then, as you're going through and talking, you can do this. Then if you want, you can cut. So I could do a split here. And then if I wanted to, like during this time when I'm talking, I'll do another split. I could just remove myself entirely. And so you just, whoop. Oh yeah, that worked. So you just have whatever's happening. You could have your animation in there, and then I come back and I'm talking. Or when I come back, I'm over on this side, and then we have me disappear for a while. And then when we come back over here, now I'm over on this side, right? So you get the idea. You can put yourself wherever you need to. You could take yourself out and just have the background. So that's the one part, is the green screening. Now, I don't particularly like that brown background, so I'm just going to revert that back to black. Take it all the way down to black, say apply. And what I did to show you an example was I actually created a little sample video here. So what I did was I grabbed some icons from the Camtasia 2020 library. And I found some buildings and people and different items, and I put them together into an animation. And so this is, so I'll just play through the animation. And so let's say, let me do this. Make this nice and big. So I'm going to play through. I'm just going to hit play. So here is Rich, and he works and he lives in a house, and every day he gets in his car and he drives over and gets his coffee so that he can be jazzed up to go to work, and he has to use his badge to get into work. And then one day Rich has a bright idea, right? So you can see how I've animated that. That's all the further that particular video goes. But that, just a sample. Like I grabbed only assets that existed in Camtasia. I moved them around. I did, some sliding things and fade in and fade out and move things over. So you can do those same things. You can just add animations to do that. If you're not sure how to add animations, you can ask me about that. I can tell you more about that, or you can check out the Cam Mastery course, right? So cammastery.com/store is where you can find the Camtasia course if you don't yet have that. That is all that I have for you today. If you happen to be on live and you had a question, I want to see. You do have a question, difference between gain and green bar with respect to audio. Nathan, great question. So let me jump back to Camtasia and show you this. So if I reattach my canvas, let's do that. In fact, I can just close this to reattach my canvas. And the question is difference between gain and that audio bar. So what Nathan was noticing was when I'm on this video, for example, in the upper right, I can go to audio and there's an option called gain. But also at the bottom, I see this green audio bar. Okay, and I can move this audio bar up and down to make it louder or softer, or I could use gain here as well. So what I know is I had that question as well and had the opportunity to ask the developers at Camtasia. I said, I think I know what the difference is between these two, but tell me if I'm right. So what I've determined is when you're using the green bar in Camtasia, it will move up and down just that one clip. So if I jump back to Camtasia and I look here at Camtasia, let me zoom in so we can see this. So if I want to increase this and make this super loud, it does, but it doesn't affect anything on either side. Okay? Or I can do the opposite. I can make it really quiet or make it completely silent. I think if you drag it down to the bottom, it'll make it silent. So it's just this one area. Similarly, I could grab this word, and if I don't want this word, I could just grab this word and drag it down. So there's even a more detailed way of editing. Maybe if I say the word or something like that, and I want this word right here, whatever this is, I can just grab this and drag this a little bit down, and now that's complete silence. Okay, so I've done that with editing my audio as well. However, if I'm looking at my audio and I say, oh, you know what, I was working in this, and I happened to make changes to several parts of my audio. Oh, that's not what I wanted. I made several changes, and can we affect all of these at the same time? So right now I've selected, as an example, I've selected all of these clips, and if I want to drag them all up toward the top, see, I drag that one up. Okay, that's not exactly where I want. Okay, now up a little bit, drag this up a little bit, I can do each of those individually. Now, I don't want to do that. I'm going to Control Z and take those back to where they were before. Okay. Instead, what I can do is select all of these clips and then go to Gain and slowly erase those at the same time. So that way, let me just show you. Let me go in here and show you. These are erasing as well. Zoom in a little bit better. There we go. So now when I use Gain, I can see all of these are moving together up and down. So the Gain option is more for applying to several clips at once, whereas the green bar itself is for either a single clip or a portion of a clip. So great question. Like I said, I checked with TechSmith. I was like, is this why? And they said, yes, that's really why. Gain is for multiple clips. The green bar is just for one clip or one part of a clip. The other thing I like about this, if we go back to Camtasia, notice whenever I dragged these clips down here, let me just zoom in down here at the bottom. When I looked and had these parts really far down, I'm going to go up to Gain, and I know you don't see this in the upper right, but I'm going to drag this up. Notice as I drag it all the way up to 250, those parts there are still silent. They're still like at 0. And if I drag everything down, it stays down. So I'm not grabbing, how do I want to say it? It's still leaving those silent parts silent as I drag this Gain slider to the right and to the left. One other thing I can do while I'm looking at it is if I say, oh, this part's just a little loud, let me just lower this part. And notice how I'm just lowering that part because it's in between these other audio points. So you could go in and say, oh, okay, this part needs to be this loud. This part needs to be a little bit less loud. This part needs to be a little more loud than the part before it. So there's just so much granularity you can apply when you are working in your audio. And that's what Camtasia tries to do for you, is give you that flexibility to be able to tweak even just, one syllable of a word if you need to adjust that. So Nathan, thank you for that question. Excellent question. And it looks like those are all the questions I have for right now. So let me thank you for joining me for this. This has been great. Lots of questions came in this last week. Oh, I am working also with Lon Naylor on creating some assets. I'll show you one more before I go. Let me jump over here. So Lon and I are working together. We're probably going to create this thing. And let me see here. You'll probably see it in November. So it could be a Black Friday thing from us as well. I don't know. But what am I creating here? Cam assets. Here's an example. I'm going to go to circle. How about corner? How about lower left? And I'm going to grab this guy and drag him here. So what I did is I actually have transitions. So this is just an example. So I'm also working with Lon, to build these assets. Here's a transition. We're going to go from, from this video here. Let's zoom in. We're going to go from one video to another. Why are you not moving? We'll move this over then. So let's see here. I see. Okay. So what would happen? There we go. So somewhere at this point I'm talking and I want to transition over to something else. So here's where I'm going through and I end, and then it transitions over to the next clip, whatever the next clip is. Now I would of course split this and you would need to delete this over here, but you could see you would go from your video here over to this new video, whatever it may be. If I expand that, maybe that is, maybe it's a screen recording. So I want to go over to my download and install, and I want to use that. So I'll drag that into here. So now as I go through here, I wrap up, I give that kind of funny face. And did I drag that to the wrong place? Let me try that again. Control Z to undo. Should have went to placeholder. Let me just try that once more. Drag that into placeholder media. There we go. Ripple replace. That's what I want. So now I'm there and I have this neat circle transition that wipes and shows the screen recording. And of course that screen recording, I would want that to continue on. And so that screen recording would continue on, but just something new, something different that I'm working on. And I want to put together a bundle for you. It's all still very much in the works, which is why I don't have a whole lot more information for you. But stay tuned, keep checking back, and I'll give you more information about how that package is coming along. So one more time, thank you so much. My name is Ron Hogue. I appreciate you joining me. If you have questions, leave them below or leave them wherever you have joined my Camtasia course. I'll be happy to answer those in another video. Until then, so long.